why modern life needs ancient Stoic wisdom in our fast-paced, modern world where smartphones buzz constantly and social media feeds never end. Many people feel overwhelmed and anxious. We face problems our ancestors never imagined. Information overload, digital addiction, career pressure, and the constant comparison with others online. Surprisingly, the solution to these very modern problems might come from ancient philosophy that is over 2,000 years old. Stoicism, a school of thought developed in ancient Greece and Rome, offers practical wisdom that is more relevant today than ever before. What is Stoicism? Stoicism was founded in Athens around 300 BC by a merchant named Zeno. After losing everything in a shipwreck, Zeno began studying philosophy and eventually created his own school of thought. The philosophy was later developed by famous thinkers like Epictetus, a former slave who became a respected teacher, Seneca, a wealthy Roman advisor, and Marcus Aurelius, who was actually a Roman emperor. The core idea of Stoicism is simple but powerful. We cannot control what happens to us, but we can always control how we respond. Stoics believed that our peace of mind comes not from external circumstances, but from our own thoughts and actions. This might sound obvious, but it goes against how most people naturally think. We usually blame our unhappiness on things outside ourselves, our job, other people, the weather, or bad luck. Stoicism teaches us to look inward instead. The dichotomy of control. The most important Stoic principle is called the dichotomy of control. This fancy term simply means dividing everything in life into two categories: things we can control and things we cannot control. What can we control? Our own thoughts, opinions, desires, and actions. We can control our effort, our attitude, and our responses to events. What cannot we control? Almost everything else. We cannot control other people's opinions, the weather, the past, or even many outcomes of our actions. We can study hard for a test, but we cannot control the exact questions that appear. We can be kind to someone, but we cannot control whether they like us. This distinction seems simple, but most people spend enormous energy worrying about things they cannot control. We stress about whether people will like our social media posts, whether it will rain on our vacation, or whether the economy will crash. According to Stoicism, this is like trying to control the waves of the ocean with your hands, exhausting and pointless. The Stoic approach is different. Focus all your energy on what you can control and accept everything else with calmness. This does not mean we do not care about outcomes. It means we do our best, then accept whatever happens without unnecessary suffering. Why this matters today? Modern life constantly pulls our attention toward things we cannot control. The news shows us problems from around the world that we feel helpless to solve. Social media shows us carefully edited versions of other people's lives, making us feel inadequate. Our phones interrupt us with notifications about things that demand our attention but do not truly matter. Research shows that anxiety and depression rates have increased dramatically in recent decades, especially among young people. Much of this mental suffering comes from worrying about things outside our control. What others think of us, whether we will be successful, if we will find love, or if bad things will happen. Stoic wisdom offers an antidote. When you truly internalize that you can only control your own actions and attitudes, a weight lifts from your shoulders. You stop obsessing over whether your boss likes you and focus instead on doing your best work. You stop refreshing your social media to see if people liked your post and focus instead on creating content that reflects your true values. You stop worrying endlessly about future catastrophes and focus instead on making good choices today. Practical, Stoic exercises for modern life. The ancient Stoics were not just philosophers sitting around talking about ideas. They developed practical exercises that anyone can use. Here are some that work particularly well for modern challenges. Negative visualization. Spend a few minutes each day imagining that you have lost something you value: your job, your health, a relationship. This is not about being pessimistic. It is about recognizing that everything is temporary and learning to appreciate what you have now. When you regularly imagine loss, you become both more grateful and less fearful. The view from above. When you feel stressed about a problem, imagine viewing your situation from high above, as if you were looking down at Earth from space. From that perspective, your problems look much smaller. This exercise helps us gain perspective and realize that most of our worries are not as important as they seem. Morning preparation. Each morning, remind yourself that you will encounter difficult people, frustrating situations, and unexpected problems. By expecting challenges instead of hoping for a perfect day, you become much less upset when problems actually occur. Evening review. Before bed, review your day. What did you do well? Where did you react poorly? What could you do better tomorrow? This honest self-reflection, done without harsh judgment, helps us improve continuously. Voluntary discomfort. Occasionally choose to be uncomfortable. Take a cold shower, skip a meal, or sleep on the floor. This might sound strange, but it serves two purposes. First, it reminds us that discomfort is not catastrophic. Second, it makes our normal comfort more appreciated. Stoicism and emotions. Some people misunderstand Stoicism and think it means suppressing all emotions and being cold or uncaring. This is completely wrong. The Stoics valued emotions but believed in responding to them wisely rather than being controlled by them. The Stoic goal is not to feel nothing, but to not be disturbed by irrational emotions. They distinguish between initial feelings, which happen automatically, and our judgment about those feelings, which we control. For example, if someone insults you, you might automatically feel a flash of anger. That is natural and human. But then you have a choice. Do you let that anger grow and control your actions? Or do you recognize it, understand it, and choose a wise response? Modern psychology supports this Stoic insight. Research shows that people who can observe their emotions without being controlled by them have better mental health and relationships. This skill, sometimes called emotional regulation, is exactly what Stoicism teaches. Conclusion: we live in a world that would amaze and confuse the ancient Stoics. We have technologies they could not imagine and face problems unique to our time. Yet human nature has not changed. We still struggle with anxiety, disappointment, anger, and fear. We still want to live well and find peace of mind. This is why Stoic wisdom remains so valuable. It offers not abstract theories, but practical tools for living better. It reminds us to focus on what we can control, to accept what we cannot, and to find freedom not in changing the world, but in changing ourselves. You do not need to become a philosopher or study ancient texts to benefit from Stoicism. Simply start by noticing when you worry about things you cannot control, then gently redirect your attention to your own actions and attitudes. This one shift, practiced consistently, can transform your experience of modern life. The ancient Stoics discovered timeless truths about human flourishing, and those truths are waiting for us to rediscover them today